So that's the state that we're living in. We're in a state that doesn't recognize or know what to do with mental illness, with psychological trauma, with those psychosocial issues that we have every single day. And it's not just the people that I've had in my life. I mean, it's everybody that can connect to somebody that has possibly died at the workplace. And so now that we've kind of, talked about some of the most bummery of the things, I promise you that throughout the rest of the night, I only have one more bummer slide. Naomi and other people today did a great job giving all the statistics to let you know what the problem is. The problem is real. The problem is in our homes. It's certainly in our neighborhoods. It's obviously in our workforce. And so I will say that I think that we are living in like the most amazing time ever, in an amazing world, to where if you go upstairs, you can see that we're working on every type of new material and all of the really cool designs that we've developed in order to keep ourselves physically safe and increasingly profitable. And we live in this time where things like AI blur the lines between humanity and technology, right? It's pretty marvelous. And so as we walk on this path towards the pursuit of progress, we have already reached unprecedented heights that we could have never imagined when we were kids. And at the same time, unfortunately, alongside all this wonder, we've also discovered the deepest depths of stress and despair and disconnection in the workplace. And so it's this side of business that we can no longer afford to ignore. And so as we sit here and gather at our 42nd annual Governor's Health and Safety Conference, that's pretty cool, I hope that we're not here to just talk about cold policies and procedures, because that doesn't really save lives. I mean, you may have metrics that say that it does, but we'll talk about when it doesn't. So what we really need to do is to start to ignite a flame, one that unfortunately comes way too late for so many thousands of people every year. But we need to ignite a flame of warmth, genuine care and connection to our employees in the workplace. We need to kind of get on, the vibe of the people that I grew up with in the massage schools and the ones that were sniffing essential oils, and they understand. And guess what? A lot of those people don't have sleep problems, and they don't have stress problems, and they don't deal with anxiety on a regular basis because they're doing the interventions that it takes to keep themselves in balance. And so we're here today to challenge the status quo and everything that we already know. We have to ask the most important questions. Are we going to just build buildings for people to go and punch a time card and grind and work their lives away miserably? Or are we to build havens to where people can grow and contribute and communicate and explore? Can health and safety become the bedrock foundation for every one of our future business successes? It should be. And so in the next 40 minutes or so, what I'd like to do is to really move beyond conventional thinking. And I want you to imagine that you're going to start building and weaving a beautiful tapestry at work to where every single thread that you put into it is going to be a renewed commitment to not only the physical safety of the people that you work with and yourself, but also to the mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. So by the end of this time together, I hope that we can start looking at how we can redefine leadership, and how leadership is more than just a position, but it can actually be the bridge that brings us into this future environment to where every single place that we go every single day is now an oasis of innovation and support and healthy communities. That's what we're going to be talking about. And I'm going to, again, like I said, I got one bummer slide that we're going to go through. But then the rest of it's all going to be the interventions and the things that we can do in our own personal lives or at the workplace in general. So here we go. We're going to be talking about all this, but first the bummer slide. We gotta get real. As we were just saying, that it's not really the policies and procedures that save lives. If the people that are reading the policies and the people that have the training and the safety measures don't know how to do them because maybe they're tired, maybe they're aggravated, maybe they're distracted with other things in their minds. Those policies and procedures are really not going to work unless the people that are using them are healthy in mind, body, and spirit. And so here's the reality of it. Now, Naomi gave some statistics this morning, that's the techno, that gave us some really heavy numbers. The numbers that were really more national and global, and they were much bigger numbers. But our workplaces, if you didn't know it already, every year become scenes of tragedy for thousands of families, the workplaces themselves. It's these types of things that happen. I mean, let's just look at some of these things. The violence and the transportation. What they discovered, or what they counted, was 5,486 lives lost, not just because of suicide and violence and everything else. These are the numbers that occurred in America on the job. I'm really hoping that nobody in here has had the tragedy of seeing that happen or seeing an actual work accident, but the numbers are there and it does happen. And these are not just numbers, of course, and a statistic. These are people that we say that we love. These are our parents. These are our lifetime partners. These are our close friends that we've known sometimes for decades, that we have barbecues with. This is sometimes our children. All of these people have lives and dreams that now their futures are completely extinguished. So let's look at some of these categories here. As you can see, transportation incidents, that's the most. That was like almost 38% of all workplace fatalities were done because of transportation. But let's also address violence and other injuries. This is a pretty high number too. I mean, really, if you got more than one or two, I say one is a high number, right? Because we don't want it. We want to do everything we can to avoid any of this from happening. So violence includes both suicides and homicides that happen on the job. So now I want to redirect and reflect on something that is really impactful. How many of these accidents could have been averted if our workplace environments didn't just foster a physical sense of safety? But what if every place that you worked did everything that it could to ensure that everyone had the optimum state of mind, body, and spirit? I mean, just think about that. Think about what that would look like, how different it would be, how excited you might be to go to work. And so, when we look at things like transportation, for example, that's not necessarily because of violence or because somebody was obviously disgruntled or angry, although I'm sure those are in there too. Transportation accidents occur, and it's because of the fact that people are not just needing to be physically present. I mean, and again, that's the number one. They don't just need to be physically present, we need these people to be mentally sharp, emotionally balanced, and they need to be spiritually fulfilled, which is probably not something that we talk a whole lot about, that spiritual fulfillment. But these are important things in a way of making sure that a person feels completely holistically fulfilled. And so stress, fatigue, burnout, these are all buzzwords that we all share with each other, but we need to make sure that they're not just buzzwords, because these things are clear and present dangers to all of our safety. And they ripple out. Anybody that's affected by any of these tragedies is going to have the family affected and the communities affected as well. What happens when we have that level of fatigue is that it dulls our senses, it reduces our reaction time, and it clouds our judgment. So what happens if we were to create an environment that's not just for employment, right? What if we actually decided to put some effort into making every single workplace environment an actual sanctuary of well-being? Does that sound too weird? Does that sound like it just couldn't happen, or it's no, this is work? Well, if you think that this is just work, then that's kind of where you need to retrain your thinking, because that's the problem. We can, And we actually have so much science backing how important it is. We're going to talk today a little bit about why meditation is important, why healthy eating is important. And it's not just some guy that likes to do massage up here says. This is actual neuroscience of the brain. You want people to perform, you need to give them an environment to do it in. And so, by creating workplaces that prioritize our sense of holistic well-being, we actually do increase productivity. But it's not just the enhancement of productivity, we're also actually saving lives. That's the important thing to think about. That we, as leaders, anybody in here a leader? Everybody's a leader, come on. If you got kids, they're watching you, everybody's watching you. So understand in your own way, everybody here is a leader. And as leaders, whether it is in our home environment, and let me ask you that first. Does anybody here not work in an environment? Think about that, right? Yes, everybody works in an environment. If you're a hybrid environment and you have to go into the office and then you're also at home, if you are, working on the slope, every single situation that you are doing work is an environment. And as leaders, our roles have to transcend just the operational. It's not just about that. We have to actually become architects of our own environment. It's something that nurtures the mind, body, and spirit of everybody in that environment. And it's not just up to management. Everybody can have a piece in this. I mean, number one, we're going to give you some interventions today that you can use at your own environment, whether at home or at work. But number two, you become a leader when you don't stand for toxic work environments. And when we move away from the types of workplaces that people would consider toxic, because let's think about what these things do. When people don't like their job and they are stressed and fatigued, it really does not only lead to a decline in productivity, but this kind of a situation has far more serious consequences. This type of a situation can lead to a decline in being safe. It can lead to a decline in thriving. It can lead to a decline in the sheer will to live, and that's how these things happen. And so, as leaders of whatever we're a leader to, we need to realize that our most valuable assets have nothing to do with the products we produce. They are not the services that we offer to each other. The most valuable assets are the employees, the people that work with us. These people are not just coming in for a paycheck. These people are coming in for a place that they can grow and collaborate and contribute to. And most importantly, they come to a place to be safe. And there's just certain things that no fancy glove, no new high-tech helmet, no harness is going to protect you from some of the violence or transportation accidents that occur. We have to take an inside-out approach. We have to take an approach of reflection upon ourselves and say, what are we doing ourselves to make a change in the workplace? Just like that old be the change you wish to see in the world thing, right? It's extremely important. And so that's it. That's the bummer slide, okay? I promise that all the rest of this is going to be a lot of fun.